All right, guys, we're going to get rocking and rolling here on the Tuesday edition of the show. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. A lot we're going to cover on the program. We encourage you, the viewer and listener, to join us in today's discussion, my friends. Very much enjoy connecting with you on this program. We'll talk Forbes magazine naming the University of Virginia a new Ivy League school. Curious to see how the turmoil in the current Ivy League is going to impact the attention of public universities like UVA that would like to be an Ivy League. Bill McChesney, thank you for liking the show. We appreciate you, Mayor of McIntyre, Mr. Bill McChesney. If you enjoyed the show, we don't ask anything in return except you liking and sharing the show, spreading the gospel. And Ginny Who, we appreciate you on Twitter. We very much appreciate you watching the program on Twitter, Ginny Who. Rodney the Rooster, has Rodney the Rooster, Ginny, been found? He's been rooster napped. Has Rodney the Rooster been found in Scottsville? I'm genuinely curious about that. I'm going to ask you this question. Lumpkins, Jack and Jill's, and Mel's Cafe. Which local icon has the best shot at surviving the recent passing of either ownership or the closure of the business a la Lumpkins? Lumpkins, Mel's Cafe, or Jack and Jill's? Which of those brands will still be in operation 2 years from now? We'll talk about that on today's program. We'll let you know our thoughts. I'm going to ask this question. Dr. Matt Haas or Dr. Royale Gurley? Who has got the most difficult job as superintendent of a local public school system? I'll try to answer that question. Judah, I'm curious of your take on that. For me, it's pretty clear cut who's got the most difficult job.
Okay.
Is it clear cut for you?
I don't know if it's clear cut, but I see one of them taking more liberties, and that probably affords him some leeway.
So who do you think, early conversation, has the most difficult job? Dr. Gurley with Charlottesville Public Schools or Dr. Haas with Albemarle County Public Schools? More difficult job. Who's got? What do you say?
I would say Gurley.
See, I'm going to go Haas. All right, that'll be a great discussion on today's program, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk about that today. We'll talk medical marijuana. Judah's provided headline over there. In Eastern Henrico, and a topic we didn't get to yesterday, another restaurant for sale on the UVA corner, and unfortunately, unstably housed students in Charlottesville Public Schools is up dramatically, right? Since 2020?
Yeah.
Dramatically.
Almost triple.
Almost triple. Good night. All right, let's rock and roll, J-Dubs. Viewers and listeners, like and share the show. We work hard for you. John Blair, thank you, my friend, for doing so. That's the only thing we ask in return from you, the viewer and listener. Judah, I can rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the set.
Quiet on the set. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love Cville show. Good Tuesday afternoon to you. We're going to ask questions of you, the viewer and listener, that pertain to Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia. Questions like this. Which superintendent, Dr. Matthew Haas or Dr. Royal Gurley, has the most difficult job as the leader, as the superintendent of their respective school system? I'm going to argue it's Dr. Matthew Haas. Judah's going to make a compelling case for Dr. Gurley. That topic on today's show. I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, which of these iconic brands, Lumpkins in Scottsville, Mel's Cafe on West Main Street, and Jack and Jill's on High Street, has the best shot of serving customers 2 years from now. Jack and Jill's saw the passing of its owner, Zanice, late last week. Mel Walker of Mel's Cafe, he passed a couple of weeks ago. And Lumpkins has now closed, at least for the time being, as the ownership team not tied to the Lumpkins family seems to have run the restaurant and motel incorrectly. So which of those three brands, 2 years from now, is most likely to be serving customers? We'll have that conversation on today's show. There's another restaurant for sale on the University of Virginia corner. I'm not brokering the deal for this particular one. I'm not representing this client, so I have a little bit more freedom of what I can and cannot say. We don't know what the restaurant is. We do know it has a Mediterranean theme. We'll try to figure out which the restaurant is. It's an out-of-market broker. Why someone would use an out-of-market broker to sell a business in Charlottesville makes no sense to me. Still, I'm going to take a look at this listing in fair and straightforward perspective. On today's program, we want to highlight the first medical marijuana dispensary in Eastern Henrico. A couple of strings attached to this one. Judah's going to offer that perspective. We're going to talk unstably housed students in Charlottesville Public Schools. We're at an all-time high for unstably housed students within the school system in Charlottesville. And ladies and gentlemen, on today's program, we will highlight elder fraud, which is at maybe an all-time high right now. So much to cover on the program, but Judah Wickower will weave you in on a two-shot. I found this compelling. You found this compelling. Forbes magazine has named the University of Virginia a new Ivy League school because of its fresh look at higher education. Forbes magazine says this: the University of Virginia is turning out smart, driven graduates craved by employers of all types. They've added 10 public universities as members to what is now a new Ivy League. Forbes used 2022 admissions data, the most recently available, and looked at schools where at least half of applicants supplied standardized test scores. They did not include, Forbes magazine, military schools, nor did they include scores from California.
Yeah.
They did not include the schools from California because California universities do not consider test scores, although Stanford is backtracking on that. Stanford University just announced it is reinstating the requirement for test scores. California, is that part of the free union? Is this a completely different country? In 2024, the state of California. My brother lives in Los Angeles. My brother's got a pretty posh pad. I would put it in the neighborhood of somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million, and 8 to 12 hobos in tents adjacent to his front yard.
Did they come with the house?
They did not come with a house. They do not convey as picture frames or mirrors or fixtures generally do in the sale of the home. They did not convey with the house. Let's get to the topic du jour. A new Ivy League school. Here are the universities that made the Forbes magazine list of, air quote, the new Ivy League. Binghamton University, Georgia Tech, the University of Florida, the University of Illinois Urbana, University of Maryland College Park, the Terrapins, come on, give me a break here. The University of Michigan, Michigan's a fantastic school, Ann Arbor, big ups to John Blair watching the program. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, pains me to include the Tar Heels on the list. The South's oldest rivalry, UNC and UVA. The academic standards at UNC, extremely difficult, especially for out-of-state students. The University of Texas, Austin, and the University of Wisconsin, Madison. I'm going to highlight a couple things before I pass the microphone on to you, our astute, our charming, our conversationalist, director, and producer, Judah Wickower. UVA is now deprioritizing legacy admissions. It is without question more difficult for an in-state student, for a legacy student, for anyone to get into the University of Virginia right now than when I got into the University of Virginia in 2000. Certainly when my dad got into the University of Virginia in 1968. The academic standards are extremely more rigorous. The legacy priority is a thing of the past. And now known commodities in the media game like Forbes are calling UVA New Ivy League, the Ivy League of today. It's no secret the OG of Ivy League, the Harvards, the Yales, the Princetons, the Cornells, the Browns, they are facing scrutiny of significant proportions as wokeism, as political turmoil, as protests have infiltrated these esteemed and prestigious universities to the point of making them unrecognizable. The turmoil that is happening at schools like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Cornell, Brown, OG Ivy League, is the fodder of global media, and it leaves many applicants asking themselves, do I want to enter a political brouhaha for 4 years of college where that otherwise should be a rite of passage where I learn, I party, I meet some friends, I hook up, and then I try to figure out a job post-college. As a result, Forbes magazine and other media outlets have said schools like Georgia Tech, the University of Florida, University of Illinois Urbana, University of Maryland, College Park, Michigan, UNC, Texas, University of Wisconsin, UVA, may be the new Ivy League because you don't have that attention and scrutiny on campus and on grounds.
Have they seen UVA lately?
I was hoping you would say that. Have they seen the University of Virginia lately with its pro-Palestine pepper spraying pickle? Was that what we called it?
Something like that.
Where do you want to go? Another media outlet giving UVA significant attention. This is the second recent national allocate for the University of Virginia. Earlier this year, the U.S. News and World Report ranked UVA the number 5 public school in the nation and the number 5 best public school for veterans. It's a Christmas list, a good boys Christmas list of attention and accolades for the University of Virginia that certainly is going to drive more interest into the school, more esteemed applicants into the school, and is going to make the school more difficult to get into. And whether we want to admit this or not, will continue to gentrify and influence Charlottesville City, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia in totality as folks get 4 years, perhaps the best of their life, and choose to stay in Charlottesville to continue their professional career or otherwise move back to Charlottesville after working in a professional setting, bringing Scrooge McDuck bags of gold coins with them to change the landscape of our community. Judah Wickhauer, my friend, the show is yours.
I wonder how much the school pays for these accolades.
I don't think this is earned. This is purchased media.
I know, I'm joking, but seriously, it almost wouldn't be surprising if there was a campaign to, get named in as many big magazines as possible. It's certainly a good thing for the school, no doubt. But like you said, it could just lead to more gentrifying, though. UVA is always going to do what UVA is going to do. I don't know that more or less accolades are going to slow the influx of people into Charlottesville.
Deep Throat, number 1 in the family's got a comment on this topic. Deep Throat's photo on screen as you're putting lower thirds on screen. Deep Throat, number 1 in the family, live from Montana, says one thing about the University of Virginia with several other schools on this list. UVA is much less truly public in terms of its funding and demographic profile. UVA has a $14 billion with a B endowment. UNC's endowment is about $5 billion. Florida's endowment is $2 billion. Then he also says Binghamton in-state tuition is less than half of UVA's. Florida is less than 1/3 of the University of Virginia's.
Wow.
Great points from number 1 in the family. Deep Throat, keep the ammunition coming. The student that attends the University of Virginia, Kevin Yancey, I'll get to you in a matter of moments. Bill McChesney, I'll get to you in a matter of moments. The student that attends the University of Virginia, Vanessa Parkhill, I'm coming at you in a matter of moments as well. The student that attends today's school is a student that I don't, in a lot of ways, even recognize. I talk to my friends that are bar owners, restaurant owners on the UVA corner. I talk to friends of mine that are landlords with off-grounds housing.
Yeah.
I got a number of buddies that own properties off grounds around UVA, a number of buddies that own businesses around the corner, and they've said, Jerry, the student today is completely different. It's not a student that's concerned with Benny Dodd on the patio of Coupe de Villes, or $2 pitchers at the Biltmore, or $5 steak and potatoes at Buddhist Biker Bar. It's not a student that's as much concerned about dollar burger night or shooting pool at Orbit, playing shuffleboard at Orbit,
So what are they concerned with?
ripping shots at Trinity, fraternity and sorority parties on Rugby Road. It's a student that is much more astute with geopolitical turmoil, focused on academics. A lot of ways they've said it's a wealthier student. You see that in the vehicle profile around grounds. When I was at University of Virginia from 2000 to 2004, there weren't that many of us that had cars. And the ones that did have vehicles certainly were not driving $80,000 plus, $100,000 plus luxury automobiles.
Yeah.
You have a student that's coming to the university that is well-heeled with mommy's and daddy's money. And that's probably an understatement.
I mean, with the numbers that with the numbers that you read from Anonymous, it's hardly surprising. I mean, if some of these schools are charging less than half or a third what UVA is, it's not really much of a surprise that the young people entering UVA have the money, not just to pay the piper, but also, rent nice houses, drive nice cars. And obviously that's not going to be every student at UVA.
In-state tuition for the University of Virginia, I'm going to include fees, room and board, books, supplies, transportation, and personal expenses. What do you think the rough estimate is for the 2023-2024 school year?
Everything included?
Everything, my friend.
For 1 year?
In-state, everything included. Room and board, fees, books, courses, materials, supplies, equipment, food, housing, personal expenses. Everything included. In-state tuition. First year in-state student.
My guess is, I'm 70,000.
In-state?
I don't know. I don't know anything about in-state or out-of-state.
70 G's is astronomical. That's probably closer to your out-of-state student. 40 G's plus for your in-state student. Geez Louise. When do you ask yourself if it's worth it?
Yeah.
40 G's plus for in-state. That number only going up.
Yeah.
Out of state. Let's try out of state. Probably in your neighborhood, flirting with 60K for the out of state. If you're able to afford this type of in-state and out-of-state tuition, you're not coming from the middle class, the upper middle class. You're clearly set in upper class. And the folks that are attending these type of paying these kind of rates and covering this kind of overhead, these are the type of parents that are doing the, what do they call them? There's a term for it. It's called kiddie condos. Do you know what a kiddie condo is? That's what they've been monikered, kiddie condos. And it doesn't just have to be a condominium.
It's probably what my friend's family did, or my friend's dad. I believe he was a dentist, and he bought a cookie cutter house on one of the islands near near Savannah, and my friend lived there. I was a tenant for a little while before I moved out. Had some other friends that paid rent to him, and it was an investment, you know? I mean, it's a house. His dad bought a house, lets his son use it while he's in college, and then when he's done with it, you know, he can sell it for hopefully a profit. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's the moms and dads that buy a piece of housing, even though UVA requires first years to live on grounds, and say second, third, and fourth year, you get this house off grounds, you get the dope room, you get to bring some of your buddies to live with you.
Yeah.
You have to stay here for your second, third, or fourth year. And when stuff like that happens, it quickly gentrifies communities. Very quickly. That's happening undoubtedly here in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
If you're tuning into the program, Forbes magazine has called the University of Virginia a new Ivy League school. A school that, even though we've kind of had a spotlight on us with this pro-Palestine pepper spraying pickle, and folks have asked, will Jim Ryan survive the new appointments from Youngkin with the Board of Visitors? The clock is ticking on those appointments. I can't wait to hear the new 4 appointees to the board.
Mm-hmm.
UVA is flowing under the radar when it's come to these protests and geopolitical turmoil on campus and on grounds. It certainly has not met the scrutiny or the media attention of a Harvard, a Yale, a Princeton, and some of these Ivy League OGs.
Yeah.
Kevin Yancey watching the program, he said UVA has wanted that Ivy League moniker forever. Certainly when I was there, they wanted that Ivy League moniker. Vanessa Parkhill, Mr. Yancey's photo on screen. Vanessa Parkhill's photo on screen. Are the new Ivies any less woke than the OG Ivies? How many of the new Ivies are public? Maybe some classes are impacting the opinion of the old Ivies. They're all private, right? The old Ivies. She also says, yep, I knew a guy back in 1991 whose dad bought a place in Turtle Creek for his son to live while attending the University of Virginia. I would say the new Ivies are less woke than the old Ivies. I would think if you're talking wokeism and universities and colleges, you go straight to the Ivy League first.
Why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah.
That's a great question for Deep Throat. I believe he's a Harvard graduate, if memory serves correct. I would say it's because of the following reason. The student profile, the type of student that's being admitted, is not necessarily the type of student that is athletics, rah, 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 rah. Is not just party, rah, 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 rah. It's a student that is more concerned with how their choices can impact or change the world in totality.
Could that be in part?
I think today's student is also much more sophisticated with news.
Yeah, but that's fairly true across the board. Could it be that in the Ivy League schools, those students have the monetary background to have the time to worry about those things over?
And whether we want to admit this or not, and this may offend some people, when you come from that level of wealth, there's a certain level of guilt associated with that level of wealth that jades your perspective on life, or changes it at least.
Yeah.
It's a type of guilt where you're like, how have I been blessed with this? And you feel almost like you have to do something because of it. Deep Throat offering perspective. He's a Harvard graduate. He's confirmed the Ivy League schools have rich kids who can afford to act out. They also recruit heavily based on leadership, which they define as having been a loudmouth activist in high school. He said it made Harvard a miserable, miserable place.
I believe it.
Ginny Hu, watching the program, her photo on screen said, I have not heard any rooster sightings. Where's Rodney? He's been rooster napped. She also said Maryland, UNC, and UVA are all extremely woke. I will give you, we're in the eye of the storm, Ginny Hu. You went to UVA. The woke nature of UVA is certainly way different than what it was when we were in school there. But compared to like a Harvard, Yale, or Princeton, it is timidly woke compared to a Harvard, Yale, or Princeton. It's almost like that state when you're waking up and it's right before the alarm and your eyes are kind of half open. You know the alarm's going to go off, but you're still in this dream and you're like, maybe I can stay in this dream a little bit longer. You're not in a REM sleep. You're coming out of REM sleep. You're kind of half asleep. That's what UVA is from a political wokeism standpoint. Compare it to Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. You've had 3 shots of cappuccino, done 50 jumping jacks, and you're wide awake. Todd Rath watching the program, The King of Cider, Todd Rath's photo on screen. It would be seriously refreshing to see one of these reports issue the best ROI for education by university and major.
It's a good call.
Great stuff from Todd Rath, the businessman, real estate investor. Great comment today. Anything you want to add on this topic? Judah B. Wickhauer, jack of all trades, jack of all wits.
I mean, sometimes I wonder what's behind all these accolades, and obviously they're
It's a bit of clickbait.
yeah.
But it's
These-
clickbait
the
that
magazines, the magazines putting these out need something to get people in, and these are, I mean, especially good with people from the schools that are mentioned.
Vanessa Parkhill says today's UVA student is on par with those attending Yale and Harvard, right? I would say so. I would absolutely say so. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer. We're going to put this on screen. You set the stage. I want to spend about 45 seconds on this one. Give the viewers and listeners the nitty-gritty on the first medical marijuana dispensary for Eastern Henrico and why this stood out to you.
Well, as we know, we've had some issues with the governor vetoing some of the attempts to legalize marijuana in Virginia, and this company, Cannabist, is opening another legal dispensary, medical marijuana dispensary in Eastern Henrico, and they are Cannabist. This is what drew my attention. Cannabist is the only company that is legally allowed to sell medical marijuana at dispensaries in Virginia. And that's got to be worth a fair amount of money for them.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm not saying that there's a connection between this company and
Youngkin?
Governor Youngkin, but if there was, I mean, it's a great way to make money. Right?
We'll get off this topic because there's some other ones I want to cover on today's edition of the talk show. I find it extremely odd that Youngkin has not legalized it across the board, especially with his free market business background.
Right.
Perhaps he keeps it retail marijuana still illegal because he wants the support of staunch conservatives, far-right conservatives. The reality is you can find it anywhere from anyone, anytime,
Yeah.
any place. There's 6 or 7 points of sale around downtown Charlottesville alone. Just go ahead and legalize it and tax it because it's basically legal, and you're just not getting the tax revenue from it.
Right.
This just seems like common sense to me. Police are turning an eye to it. Walk anywhere in this town, you smell it. You can buy it pretty much from any a couple dozen brick or mortars in town. Just get it over with.
Yeah.
Next headline, my friend. Oh, another restaurant for sale in the UVA corner. So I don't have this listing. We're part of the Croby's deal. You've seen the sign up, Tangerine Kitchen coming to the old Croby's location. We helped broker that deal. Very excited for Tangerine Kitchen. The announcement for what's coming is going to be the announcement of our client. I'm not going to break the ice or release that news yet. but there's an out-of-market business broker who's got a business for sale on the UVA corner. It's priced at $149,000, and he calls it in the listing a Mediterranean restaurant. It was a listing sent to me because we have clients that are looking to go into the Virginia, into new restaurant locations. Mediterranean restaurant on the corner. Clean, spacious. $149,000 asking, rent $4,000 a month. Gross revenue, $175,000. Established year 2022. Does $149,000 asking price with gross revenues of $175,000. Does that make sense to you? With an established year of 2022.
You're saying they're trying to get out of something that may look better on paper than it actually is in reality?
Would you pay $149,000 for something that has gross revenues of $175 that's been around 2 years in an industry that has significant headwinds?
I mean, I don't have that kind of money.
I
So
get
no.
you have to start somewhere when you're making a listing. I get you have to start somewhere with an asking price. But sometimes when you do these type of deals, if you start too high, you just make it such unreasonably fathomable for potential buyers. They just completely ignore it altogether.
Yeah.
You're much better starting out of the gate with an accurate price. And oftentimes you see with this, it turns into what you don't want as a broker is you don't want it to turn into an asset sale. You want it to have the value of the assets plus some of the value of the brand, the upside and the opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you come with a price that's unreasonable, it eventually becomes just an asset sale. My prediction for this, no shade to the broker, oftentimes they're hand forced by the client, him or herself. We'll follow it closely. I would imagine this is going to sit for an extended period of time. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer. What is that headline? Oh, this is your headline. Set
Yeah.
the stage from this. This is from City Council meeting yesterday. Put the lower third on screen.
This is from Molly Conger, the socialist dog mom, reporting from the city council meeting.
She live tweets them.
I've got some numbers that she posted on images, if you want me to put them up.
You can put the images up. Those images are from City Council meeting, so they were presented to council last night. Set the stage here. We got 60 seconds for this, 90 seconds for this topic. I'm putting you on the clock. Judah's a very efficient speaker and explainer.
Well, then I will skip.
Siri, set the timer for 90 seconds.
I will skip
1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay.
Counting down.
Oh man, I'll skip the graphics. The educational barriers. This is for unstable housing, and that's creates barriers of lack of documentation, few resources for school fees for supplies, losing credits when transferring schools, gaps in instruction, and in 2020 to 2021, there were 55 students who were identified as unstably housed. 2 years later, from 22 to 23, that was up to 141 students.
That is astronomical jump.
And in the 23 to 24 school year, it is slightly down at 136 students. That may not seem like an enormous number compared to the number of kids that we've got in schools around the area, but as any parent will tell you, that's too many students that are unstably housed, and that affects a lot. That affects their ability to do well in school. It affects their home life. I can't imagine. It's certainly something to keep an eye on.
This is a perfect segue. Oh, look at that. Done. 90 seconds on the dot. Judah Wickhauer. Props to Judah. You're on point today. Perfect segue into Superintendent Gurley, Charlottesville Public Schools, Superintendent Haas, Albemarle County Public Schools. Who's got the more difficult job and why? We're going to set the clock for 2 minutes. Siri,
Oh, good grief.
timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Counting down.
Judah Wickhauer, you say Dr. Gurley has the more difficult job. Go. 60-second argument waiting to happen.
That was just my first call. I'm sure you're probably right about Haas, but
Okay, can I jump in here and I'll extend your time here? If you're going to make a compelling case or a compelling argument,
I don't have a
you
compelling-
don't diminish your compelling case by saying that was just my first hunch, and the guy I'm arguing with is probably going to win.
I don't have a compelling argument. My first thought
For the sake of a talk show.
My first thought was that
madre.
was that we know Haas has done things his own way. He's given polls on whether or not to, change school names, and then gone ahead and changed them despite people wanting
Surveys,
the opposite. Yeah.
parents.
So I just my initial impression was, if this guy's doing whatever he wants, then he's probably having an easier time than Gurley, who's got to deal with. I mean, even though it's only one school, right? Charlottesville High School.
Well, he's the superintendent of all Charlottesville public schools. Granted, there is only one high school in Charlottesville.
Yeah, that's fair. So, but Charlottesville has had its more than its share of news articles recently.
Okay, Jerry's turn. This is how you make a compelling case. Dr. Matthew Haas has the most difficult job of the two. Here are the reasons why. He's got more schools.
Yeah.
He has Albemarle High School. He has Western Albemarle High School.
Right.
He has Monticello High School. He has 3 high schools. Gurley has 1.
Yeah.
There is a much larger population of students in Albemarle schools for Charlottesville schools. Albemarle County Public Schools are vastly larger than Charlottesville Public Schools. That's point number 2. Point number 3, because of that population base, he faces more headwinds and problems. Point number 4, look at the school board race that just transpired. Bryce versus Spillman. It had global attention. The attention on Albemarle County Public Schools is significantly greater because there's more parents in Albemarle County Public Schools, and because there's more parents, more media covers Albemarle County Public Schools. Albemarle High School, for example, had the same headwinds as Charlottesville High School when it came to brouhahas, backyard brawling, fights, brawls, whatever the hell you want to call them. Students running amok, stampeding students through the hallways, students not listening to parents. You had the junior varsity football incident, the hazing.
Yeah.
That led to arrests. You have drugs, you have sex, you have cell phones. Haas by far has the more difficult job, and it's not even close. Haas has navigated landmines almost expertly well. You look at the people navigating landmines professionally in the Central Virginia market, and you make a legitimate argument that Dr. Matthew Haas understands how to navigate political headwinds and political landmines better than anyone. Give me someone in Central Virginia. This is a topic for tomorrow's show. Write this down for a headline. Viewers and listeners, let us know your thoughts. Give me one person in Central Virginia who knows how to navigate political landmines and headwinds better than Matthew Haas, the superintendent of Albemarle County Public Schools. I'm open-minded to anyone giving me that insight. That's a headline for tomorrow. That could be our lead headline. He's a virtuoso at that. As a result, I win this argument. Dr. Matthew Haas is the more difficult job. You did a good job, teacher. All right, Jack and Jill's, Mel's, Lumpkins. Which is the most likely to survive? Put that lower third on screen. We're going to spend 2 minutes on this. Actually, we'll spend 3 minutes on this. This is my favorite topic of the show here. We'll spend 4 minutes on this. Siri, set the clock for 3 minutes. Siri, set a timer for 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Counting down.
Thank you, Siri. Jack and Jill's, Mel's, Lumpkins. Most likely to still serve customers 2 years from now.
I give it to Jack and Jill.
I give it to Jack and Jill's too. I give it to Jack and Jill's.
Yeah.
I don't think Lumpkins is going to be Lumpkins. Mel's Cafe's got a GoFundMe. Mel Walker's family has launched a GoFundMe. They
Yeah.
launched it, I'll tell you when. I got the GoFundMe open right now.
I mean, just the fact that they launched the GoFundMe kind of tells me that they don't have a path forward yet. And then you've also got
They launched the GoFundMe on May 30th. We are now on the 18th. They launched the GoFundMe basically 3 weeks ago. They asked for $20,000. Why $20,000 seems, that's like peanuts. $20,000 for that GoFundMe. Nearly 3 weeks later, that GoFundMe has not even reached the 50% marker. It's raised $9,793.
Yeah,
It has not opened since Mr. Walker's passing.
right.
Where is Rodney the Rooster? Why has Rodney the Rooster been kidnapped? And how the hell do you steal a 7-foot porcelain rooster without anyone knowing? There's not a chance in HE double hockey sticks that Lumpkins is going to be serving people 2 years from now.
Right. Especially since they took the sign down as well.
Jack and Jill's is still in operation right now. Zanice's daughter is running the business.
Yeah.
2 years from now, Jack and Jill's, the family owns the real estate and the location.
Yeah.
The Lumpkins family owns the Lumpkins real estate. Mel's does not own Mel's Cafe.
Yeah.
Mel's is already for sale right now, listed earlier this year by the longtime owner of the real estate.
Yeah.
2 years from now, that's not going to be Mel's Cafe. And that sucks for Charlottesville.
No doubt.
In a 2.5 week period of time, a 3 week period of time, we've seen potentially the demise of the three of the most iconic businesses in Central Virginia: Mel's, Jack and Jill's, and Lumpkins. And only one of those three is going to survive, and that's Jack and Jill's on High Street. Why are they going to survive? Because they had a plan in place to pass the business from one generation, the founders, Zanice, to the second generation, the daughter.
Yeah.
They own the real estate. They had a succession plan in place. You've seen the HBO show Succession, right?
No.
Of course you have. It's a fantastic show. They
I
had
don't have HBO.
a succession plan in place. Mel's did not. And Lumpkins, the current owners, have run the business into the ground. Jack and Jill's will serve. Lumpkins and Mel's will not be here.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what happens to the $9,793 that have been raised into GoFundMe.
Does it go through if you don't raise the amount that you were aiming for?
Great question. I don't know the GoFundMe rules.
I believe.
That's 3 minutes on that topic.
Okay.
What happens to that? You say it goes back? Bill McChesney says Jack and Jill's all day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. I think, I could be wrong, but I believe GoFundMes that don't reach their goal.
Money gets sent back to the originals, to the
Yeah,
people?
kind of like a Kickstarter, where if it doesn't reach its goal, then nobody ends up actually paying what they had. What's the word?
Donating.
Yeah, what they had promised to donate.
John Blair watching the program. Get John Blair's photo on screen. This is what he says. Tough to think Mel survives. The property was already for sale before his passing. Here's a twist for you. I don't think Lumpkins survives as a brand, but the building itself may become another restaurant. Jack and Jill, I'm assuming that there is the ability for the brand to continue in the same building, 100%. Mm-hmm. Family owns the real estate, daughter's running the business.
Yeah.
That crushed ice, those foot-long hot dogs, that bean soup and that chili, it's going to survive. Will the ouzo and the cigarettes after hours survive? Probably not. I'll miss that. All right, final topic of the talk show. Elder fraud is currently at an epidemic scale. Judah Wickhauer topic. Ginny Hu watching the program first. She says this. She said, I taught at 2 colleges. My niece just graduated from Maryland, and while our eldest goes to a smaller school down south, she is currently in the summer law program at Berkeley. What many do not realize is schools like UVA have grad students and grad students teaching class who got their undergrad degrees from the Ivy Leagues, and they have been spreading their wokeism at schools like UNC, UVA, and Maryland for decades. Great comment right there from Ginny Hu. Remind everyone it's primary day and to please go out and vote. And she says, I think Jack and Jill will make it as long as the daughter still wants to run it. I agree. I'm going to quote, retweet this one. I agree with Ginny Hu. Quote, retweet for Ginny Hu on Twitter. Rooster napped. Deep Throat and Deep Throat's oldest son, High Voice, have put some very compelling photos together of where Rodney the Rooster is. They're not in the Twitter DMs.
Oh.
I've chosen at this point not to show those photos on screen, although they made me laugh hysterically over the weekend. High Voice. High Voice, I miss seeing you. And same for you, Deep Throat. The photos are pretty effing hilarious. They're pretty funny. You're laughing at them right now. Elder fraud. Don't take advantage of elderly people.
It's happened.
God.
My dad got hit by someone.
Got hit by somebody? They robbed him? They punched him in the face and took his wallet? He has like a man purse, doesn't he?
He does.
What, did he get robbed?
Not robbed, but he had someone. This was a few years ago. Somebody called I think they were texting him.
Put Jude on the clock for 30 seconds.
And pretending that they were his partner's mother.
Good Lord.
And saying, "Hey, I gotta get a present for the kids. Can you?" I mean, it's they mention in this he mentions in this article that it's oftentimes they get you by creating a false sense of urgency, and that's
if anyone texts you and says, I need $15,000 right now in the next 45 minutes or my life is over, I'm getting arrested, or everything bad, catastrophic is happening. That's a scam. They're using urgency against you. That's like scam artist number one technique.
You need to, if it's someone that you think you know texting you,
call them. FaceTime them.
If it's a
Who gives $15,000 to a person over text message?
If it's a business or a bank, again, call them, because somebody could be spoofing their number. But the thing is, it's easy to fall for these things. My dad, before he thought better of it, got a card that he gave to this person gave the number to online. Go pick up a gift card. Anyways, the FBI, they have a statistic that in 2023, Americans older than 60 lost $3 billion to online scammers. That's just last year.
It's terrifying. Because one day we're going to be 60. And our loved ones are 60 plus.
And if you've seen the AI photos and AI voices that are going around now,
they can scale pretty much everything, mimic pretty much everything.
Yeah, in 10 or 20 years, they'll be able to copy your father's voice, your kid's voice. They'll call you up.
This is what they're going to say.
They'll call you up.
Jerry, get your ass in here.
On a spoofed phone number. And
Jerry,
yeah?
USOB, get your ass. Don't take advantage of the elderly.
Whose voice is that going to be?
It's my father's. Pretty much my entire childhood. Judah Wickhauer, Jerry Miller, the I Love Seville show on a Tuesday. Thank you kindly for joining us. So long, everybody. Jerry, get your ass in here.